Hello, this is Matthew Horn for Educational Leadership 850, spring of 2013, and this is the case study presentation for the Internet Use Violations, Threats Over the World Wide Web. Category 1, Problem Identification and Analysis. What do you know? We know that Roosevelt High School is in a large city in an area that is more than financially stable. Parents have professions such as doctors, lawyers, and partners in investment firms. Dr. Stephen Forms has been a principal for 9 years and has won Principal of the Year. He is very respected by parents and the community and is proud of the great reputation of the school. We also know that Dr. Forbes has addressed an issue with Miss Walker, a second-year teacher that specializes in advanced classes. Miss Walker has made her class difficult for her students to the extent that the parents are concerned of their students getting their first bad grade and losing their chance of being valedictorian or salutatorian. He has shared better practices with her, which she has not used in her class. Miss Wilson was sent an email that directs her to a website that has threatening content addressed to her. Problem Identification and Analysis. What do you need to know? I need to know if the email and the website was made with district technology and what people or students are responsible for sending the email and making the website. I also need to know the district's policy for internet violation and discipline procedures for that level of misconduct. And I also need to know why Dr. Forbes did not follow through with his plan of action of helping Miss Wilson to be successful in his school with her methods of instruction. Identifying the problem. Number 1. Miss Wilson has had her safety threatened by a student, group of students, or possibly parents. Miss Wilson has not taken advice from Dr. Forbes to make her classroom more student-friendly and successful not only for herself, but for her students as well. Dr. Forbes has not followed up on assisting Miss Wilson with her classroom instruction, and instead of being proactive in preventing a problem, he now has to be reactive and handle a difficult situation. Category 2, Proposed Plan of Action with appropriate strategies for implementation. Step 1, I will gather as much documentation as I can for this case by 1. By making hard copies of the email and of the website. Number 2, by contacting the district's technology department so we can find where the email came from and who all made the website. And number 3, determine if district's resources were used to create the email or construct the website. Step 2, I'm going to continue to build my case by 1, refer to district's documents, print them off, and have ready for my investigation. Number 2, using the information from the technology department, I will gather statements from students and from Ms. Wilson. Number 3, I will question Randy Franks and or the students responsible, but will not directly blame him for the incident if there is no other evidence, and if there is evidence, I will follow district's discipline policy. According to district policy, nobody, including district staff, students, or parents, are allowed to make threats to anyone in the school atmosphere or setting. Step 3. When the involved students are found, I will then implement the proper discipline. Possible consequences include suspension, expulsion from school, or criminal charges. The students need to be held accountable for their actions and be aware that this type of behavior is unacceptable and will not be tolerated. Number 2, during the process and because of the gravity of the situation, I will notify the superintendent or deputy superintendent, whichever is more appropriate, of the situation and of the progress that has been made addressing this issue. And number 3, during this step, it needs to be determined if legal action should be taken by Ms. Wilson and what rights she has. To prevent further situations from happening, Ms. Wilson also needs to be given extra support in her classroom by scheduled and unscheduled walkthroughs so she feels safe in her class. Category 3, resolve the issues based on promoting the success of all students. Step 1, I would much rather be proactive with this situation, but I will notify staff that there has been a violation of internet usage, not given any names, and that they need to go over cyberbullying with their students along with the acceptable usage of the internet is and what the expectations of Roosevelt High School. Step 2, next letters will be mailed home that explain what cyberbullying is, what the consequences are, what to do if it happens to them, and what acceptable use of the internet is for school and at the home setting. Step 3, I'm going to give additional needs support to Miss Wilson by having her work with an instructional coach, and if she does not implement new procedures in her class in a timely manner, I'll follow the coaching procedures to help her be more successful. Category 4. What was I thinking, feeling, and valuing as I responded to this problem? Well, number 1, Dr. Forbes has great credentials and experience. He cares a lot about his school and being successful. I'm surprised that he has not worked harder to help Miss Wilson with her instructional coaches or a mentor to make the content that she teaches more student friendly. Number 2, I do feel that Dr. Forbes could have been more proactive and prevented the students and parents from getting as frustrated as they did. And number 3, I also feel that it would be easy to jump to conclusions and automatically blame the student that Miss Wilson suspects. There is a process that needs to be followed, and district policy is very important in this matter, and with a discipline that is going to be needed. What issues are unresolved or open for further investigation? Well, number 1, I would like to know why Miss Wilson did not use any of the advice that Dr. Forbes gave her. Number 2, are there other students that feel this way about Miss Wilson that are likely to do something similar or more physical with her? Number 3, does the district have the proper restrictions on the network to prevent cyberbullying of this nature? And number 4, have the students and parents properly been addressed with proper internet usage and cyberbullying? Category 5, Standard 5 reflection. Standard component 1. I demonstrated a sense of integrity and ethical behavior by number 1, I informed the staff that a violation of internet usage and cyberbullying has happened without mentioning the names of the parties involved. Number 2, teachers were directed to discuss what acceptable internet usage is allowed and what cyberbullying is. Number 3, letters were sent home to inform parents as well as students about acceptable internet usage at school and home for students and what cyberbullying is, what to do if it happens, and what the consequences are by district policy. I acted with fairness by not directly blaming Randy Franks for the incident. I used help from the technology department to find who the email and website came from. Number 2, I gathered statements from the people involved and followed the district's policy on discipline for the responsible people. And number 3, understanding that Miss Wilson needs further support with her teaching methods and that the situation might have been avoided if her teaching was more student-friendly. I demonstrated a sense of integrity and ethical behavior by working with Miss Wilson after the incident to give her extra support in her classroom with the scheduled and non-scheduled walkthroughs to make her feel safe and supported. And also, by having Miss Wilson work with an instructional coach, I understand that if Miss Wilson is able to modify the current way that she teaches her class to be more student-friendly, that future problems like this can be avoided. In conclusion, when instances like this happen, it is important not to blame the wrong people. You must follow the process of researching, following district policy, and acting in an ethical way for both students and staff. It is always better to be proactive instead of reactive. That concludes my presentation. Thank you for your time.